guys, welcome back to Interval Conversations. I'm so glad to be joined today by my good friend and my governor, sometimes, Mr. Gerard Marescaux. Now, Jed, how are you doing?
Hiya. I'm all right. Not bad.
Good to hear. Now, Jed has been in the industry for a long time, doing Amdram shows, working backstage. You're part of the wood now at the Playhouse, aren't you? More or less.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
How did you first get involved in this industry?
Apart from the odd school thing at school, back when I was about 13, my best mate at the time, when I was at junior school, asked me to come along to the second week of Hattie.
Oh,
Halifax Summer to 30. So me and him were a couple of founding members. He dropped out after a few shows, and I just carried on and stayed doing shows with Main Society and Hattie and other societies in Halifax and abroad. So it just went from there.
Yeah. Can you tell us about some of your show experiences? Because like I was saying, you've been on stage a fair amount of times.
Yeah. I joined Halifax Summer to 30 Youth in 1981. My first show was their first show, being the Hattie Happening, as it was called. And it was done at the old rehearsal rooms at Bell Hall. And then we were asked to go to the Main Society to do Wizard of Oz in the December 1981, when we used to do the Panto at the Vic, or as a Civic it was called then. So I did that. And then I carried on doing the main show for the amateurs and the Panto right through till, I think the first show I missed was Dames at Sea. And then it was just getting me learning through Hattie, because it wasn't just about doing the shows with Hattie, it was learning the stagecraft. And the two best lessons I ever learned was don't piss off the props and don't piss off the stage crew. If you piss off the props, you might end up with no prop or the wrong prop. And if you piss off the stage crew, something heavy might land on your head. But no, seriously, you appreciate what the stage crew do for you, because you can't do a show without them. So we were taught to say thank you, common courtesy to your crew who've been working hard. So when you leave stage, you say thank you. Simple as. And then I started doing backstage as well in mid-80s. Be about 85, 86 when we did Carousel. And I joined the stage crew helping out what was Brighouse Rent-A Crew, because the amateurs didn't have their own crew at the time. So a lot of societies used the Brighouse crew. And so I started doing it with them and learnt a few things, and then carried on when Brighouse Rent-A Crew stopped doing it and we did our own crews. And then joining Halifax Playhouse, I started doing stage management, and it just went on from there. But show-wise, I think my favourite show of all time is Fiddler. And I think I'm up to number 5 on that, having played Mottle 3 times and Tevye twice. But I think it's a fabulous show, love it to bits. And it's a lot funnier than people give it credit for. That they don't realise it until they go see it. And it's not about getting kicked out of it, but it's a subplot is getting kicked out of Anatevka, but it's how Tevye manages his daughters, challenging his traditions and faith, and the humour around that. The Jewish humour comes out so much in it, and it's a lovely part. Not long ago, I did Mac and Mabel. That was a fabulous show to be in. But did that with a light opera. I think what was my first proper show in Halifax on stage was Alice in Wonderland in at the YMCA with Hattie, and certain people who run Hattie, who are still about, God bless them, still like to remind me every now and again about they couldn't get rid of my Yorkshire accent at that stage in my Amdram career, community theatre, because I was playing the Knave of Hearts and it was all arts and darts, and every now and again one of them pops it up and throws it into the conversation, what, 30 odd years later, 40 odd years later. So you'd have thought I'd have grown out of it by now. But I love all sorts of theatre, backstage, on stage, directing even.
Yeah.
So
because we've been lucky enough to work together both on stage and backstage.
Yes.
And I think the last show I sort of crewed was for you when you directed 9 to 5.
Yes, you did. Yeah, the Playhouse, yeah.
Yeah, I was just meant to be duty manager, so usually you just open up, keep out the way, make sure no one dies. But I ended up running the scene changes, more or less, throughout that.
It does happen.
Yeah, and it was very tight.
Yeah, it always depends on the. Because when I've done duty manager, you come in and ended up either taking over the run because it's easier, or helping them out. Yeah. So, but it's all to facilitate getting stage and that. It's it can be, what's the phrase, taxing at times.
Yeah. Considering the size of the set we had, depending who we got, and considering the size of the set, it was just.
That was my fault.
That was proper Tetris backstage. That set.
Yeah.
Just had to go around and put arrows, basically tape boxes to where people could go.
It was a master plan in Tetris, but to be fair, it was worth it because the show from out front looked absolutely fabulous, and despite my best efforts to bugger it all up, so we got it through.
Because I appeared on stage more than some chorus members changing that set round. But Richard Armstrong came up to me afterwards and just went, "That's the best thing I've ever seen you in." I was like, say anything exactly. But do you have
amazing?
Go on, sorry.
No, go on.
No, go on.
Do I have it? What?
You have the floor.
Memories of you.
Oh God.
My favourite technical mishap involved you.
Oh God.
But it wasn't. You were on stage at the time. You and our Isaac was on stage.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera with Hatter, and we had a low fog machine going not full belt, but going nicely in the previous scene in the Phantom's lair, and we had the scene change, and we had all these candles, and one of the crew, either props or stage crew, picked up this tray of candles and walked them off stage, and as they got off stage, one of the candles fell off and hit the FX button on the low fog machine, and that prompted it completely overrid any control that the sound and light had on it, and it just went 100% full blown, and you were all coming on doing "Where Is She?"
Madonna.
And you and Isaac just disappeared, literally, and it was so funny.
Where is she? Where are you?
I remember having to run downstairs, stage right, under the stage, back up, because no one had the foresight to actually either turn it off or unplug it. And just as I got to the top, someone thought about it. That was one of the best mishaps that's still talked about. And being a sadistic stage manager, one of my favourite jokes that I played was on you. Surprisingly, I don't know why. You have a habit. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. You have a habit of coming up early before you're called.
Oh
Some
yeah.
some people do. And we told everyone not to come till we called. You came up to the side of the stage, and I said, "You haven't been called. Go away." And I managed to time it to call second act beginners just as you got to the bottom of the steps.
Yeah.
I couldn't have timed it any better. But no, we have some fun. Especially actually one of my favourite times on a run is the build.
Yeah.
You get in the build, for be it as a member of the stage crew or member of the cast. It's seeing the set evolve and take shape before your eyes, and being part of the build is satisfying because it's a major thing. It's not so very happy when you have to strike it at the end of the week.
Yeah.
But needs must. But I think the actual worst one was when I did cabaret down at Brigham. Cabaret with the amateurs down at the Square Chapel, and I played Herr Schultz.
Oh yeah.
I did the build and I did the get out, and I think there was only two members of the cast who helped. But the worst thing was you were walking the pieces of the set past the emergency exit door to the bar at the time where the bar used to be before the refurbishment, and that door was open. So you're walking past and seeing everybody else having a beer, and you're just sort of carting bits of scenery away. You people.
Was it Martin Beck we almost killed on that show? Got electrocuted. So we had that sort of big vanity mirror frame at the back, and one of the bulbs went.
Yeah.
And I think it was Martin.
Yes.
Went to change a bulb, and
and we hadn't loved it.
Yeah. Oh, Martin.
He said, "Oh, no one left. No one did it," and we plugged it. Because who else is there? We Snapper. We called her Sparky after Sarah.
Oh, so
in Rent. She was putting up the fairy lights on the Christmas tree and electrocuted herself. And so we started calling her Sparky until such time as when she broke Ben's key in his van door. So I started calling her Snappy after that. But no, we've had some good fun.
Yeah. So I remember when we did the haunting. That was a stressful. Judging by our reactions, you can see how stressful that was. But
it was very stressful.
Like trying to perform an almost Charles Dickens ghost story that reads well, doesn't act well.
Yeah, the author based it on Charles Dickens' ghost stories, and when we read it at the Playhouse on the casting and play selection, it read really well, and the penny hadn't dropped with anybody that he was writing like Charles Dickens' novel, whereas trying to learn the lines is a lot different than just reading the novel. And I actually found Shakespeare easy to learn. And that bit that the director said I had to read a newspaper clip.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't learn it. You can't learn it. You've got, because it's always obvious that you've learned it. And you had to pass me a folder. Unfortunately, we had two folders, one for the first act, one for the second act, with different things in them. And you passed me the wrong folder. I had not realised, just about to take it off you, and you snapped it back just in time, having realised you'd given me the wrong folder. That would have been an interesting scene, wouldn't it, if I'd had to ad-lib the whole of the Charge of the Light Brigade newspaper report.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to help you, because I just had to sit down and watch you at that point.
Yes. Yeah, because it was a monologue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So...
What else went? A lot of things went wrong in that show. It took us more or less the full week to get it right.
Yeah.
As in performance. The bookcase, that bloody book, because we had the flying books effect. And
in theory, that could have worked.
Yeah. But the crew forgot to let one book off at the right cue. So all the other books flew off. So I was clear of it. I went back to sit down, and a book just like landed there. I was like, ah, yeah. So
Yeah, well, you just
yeah, I survived. Can't kill me that
yeah,
easy. Many have tried,
yeah.
head included.
Well, yeah, there is that. I still hold the record of the number of cast members hit by a cloth coming in at the Playhouse.
What's
10.
your 10? I think I was one of those 10.
10. No, I don't think you were, unless you were in Sugar.
No,
Some Like It Hot.
no.
It was my first show crewing after I'd come back from County Durham, living up in Newcastle, County Durham area, and we had a fast. The director wanted the girls to fly in really quickly, and I gave them 2 options. I said, I can fly you in. You've got really, really fast, but I will have no control over the cloth coming in. Once it goes, and there's no stopping it. Or you can have it coming in nice and set, and I will have control over it. If someone steps in front, underneath it, I'll be able to stop it. It just won't be as fast. And they went, no, I want it really, really fast. And I said, well, in which case we have to ensure that the cast, when they exit on the previous scene, they exit straight off into the wings, and they do not, under any circumstances, move forward downstage. And we went through it with them, and they all said yes, we understood. Opening, I think it was the opening night. They all, about 15 of them walked forward, and I caught 10 of them with the gauze, because it's basically you're up in flies, and you basically let go and made sure the rope was going to clear the cleat. So until it hit that rate, there was no stopping it. And I think I got a certain person every night. She didn't learn by her mistakes.
I love how I know who you're on about there. I'm sure everyone else does in the Amdram world.
But all you can do is warn them.
Yeah.
All you can do is tell them. And it's like when I did stage manage White Christmas for the Light Opera.
Right.
We had a lot of cross flying coming in and out, and I was doing the calls for the flies, and I was concentrating so much on none of the cast getting hurt, I'd forgotten to double check the crew. And one of the props ladies decided to change her route on and off stage, and I didn't see her, and unfortunately she got clobbered by the cloth coming in. So a lot of it is common sense, but if you change your route, having got an established route on and off stage, things can and ultimately will go wrong. But it's a lot. I think it's a lot. What we do is a lot different to what professionals do.
Yeah.
What a stage manager does, or an assistant stage manager does, in a professional company is completely different to some extent to what we do in community theatre. It's like your assistant stage manager will attend every rehearsal, organise the rehearsals, get the props ready, and mark up the book. Whereas your assistant stage manager, if you're lucky to get one, is involved in the run from the on stage with community theatre regularly. And depending on the society as well, you might get involved in the build if they're building their own sets, like we have done in the past with the amateurs. Yeah. But I think everybody who does who acts should at some point work backstage, because it gives you an appreciation of what else. It's the teamwork that goes on to get a production on stage. Which is part of the reason why I love doing everything backstage. I just got a love for it. I enjoy myself, and we're not always politically correct on bills, but it's part of the fun. And there's always someone that gets picked on. Yeah. It used to be you,
yeah,
and
still is
then
sometimes.
Mr. Bog. Yeah. And then Mr. Boggis came along, and it's always Mr. Boggis, regardless of whoever's the human. But no, I've thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, in recent years, I've started doing not just the stage crewing, but lighting and sound.
Yeah.
When the Playhouse did My Boy Jack about 10 years ago,
quite a few years ago. Well,
I constructed a whole. My first show doing sound, and I ended up doing the whole scene consisted of having the sound effects of a cannon bombardment in the trenches. So it was basically started off, and that lasted for the whole scene. I actually created that from different pieces, overlaying it, and I got really into it. I really enjoyed it. And being in charge of the stage at the Playhouse, I thought, oh, I better start learning how to do other things as well. So I've been doing lighting as well. It is a bit of a drawback when you're colourblind.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure you've got the same, if you want same colour gel that you want, when there are some that are completely different but look exactly the same to me. So, or if you don't want the shadow over the stage and you can't see it because everything looks the same. So,
because I've been looking at Playhouse, obviously you've obviously trusted me enough to be in charge of the theatre, but you've also trusted me to light and design some shows you've directed or been involved with. So I think my first full proper one for the Thespians was oh god, what's it called? The one with the gangsters. Lady Killers.
Lady Killers.
Lady Killers. That massive set.
A massive set. The one night I was going to kill you for leaving the lights on at the end of Act 1 for so long.
Hey, the desks crashed.
Just left me standing there.
The desk crashed.
You left me standing there.
I know, I was trying to get it to go to blackout. The button was not working. But it was funny. That and
it wasn't on stage.
that and Dial M for Murder. That's the last one I lit for you.
Oh, you really job for me. I love that. All the shadows and everything I wanted.
Because you just let me have free reign over it, essentially. So
ish.
But
I gave you a basic outline of what I wanted, but I knew that I trusted you that you would provide it. So
we had a last-minute edition of like the fireplace, because like, how can we do it? Like, where can we put the light? And I just saw the small trap open at the front. I was like, any argument with me putting a floodlight there? Yeah, it's right.
Maybe right.
What's the worst that could happen?
No, nothing, because the cast didn't go anywhere near the front of the stage. So, well, they were supposed to, but you never know. You can't. As we always say, what's the worst thing you can do to a set?
Leave
Put
it.
a bunch of actors on it.
Yeah.
Including me. Including me.
Including me as well.
Yeah.
So,
no, I think. Go on.
What do you find the hardest part of working backstage is? So obviously we've got the long hours, the get out. What sort of challenges? Cast. Yeah.
The cast, basically. Some people don't have spatial awareness backstage, or they think, oh, I've got a quick change, so I'm going to put my costume there, and they put it 99% of the time they put it somewhere they're not supposed to put it, and you've got a scene change and they put it on that piece of set that you want to get it on stage, and it just slows it down a bit. I think that it's thinking on your feet. Something goes wrong, and trying to solve it so it doesn't, so you don't have to call a show stop, and so it's solving it so the production can carry on, and that no one's going to get hurt. I think that's the hardest thing. For the majority. I mean, to be fair, a lot of we over the last 10 or so years, especially since I've been directing and everything. When I've been directing, I've been trying to educate casts into being aware of what's going on backstage and throughout the rehearsal period, rather than just leaving it till the tech rehearsal and saying, right, this is dangerous, or don't do this, don't do that, and just saying, being aware that you've got a crew that have got a massive, especially like 9 to 5, when I knew that there was going to be big pieces of set having to move on and off that stage, and it's not a big stage. So I've tried to educate them when I've been a director to say, just think about what you're doing and where you're putting you if you've got a quick change. But sometimes you don't, and it's trying not to kill the cast, basically. I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, as tempting as it is.
And yeah, I mean, then sometimes it's if you're a stage manager and you've got to deal with the producer or director, or if you're the duty manager at the playhouse, I think the hardest thing is people. Is dealing with the people that, look, you can't do this, it's dangerous, but not doing it so you're putting a barrier in the way, but saying, no, you can't do this, how about doing this? This is safe, you can do this. But sometimes people go, no, I want to do this, and you have to put your foot down, but it's trying to do it without upsetting people or offending them. I know we've had some stage managers, or worked with some stage managers who, as soon as they open their mouth, they offend somebody. And it's how they deal with it. They're not a people person, but it's right. I think it's having to deal with people. The sets are fine. You can always figure out a set. Oh, that don't fit, right? What can we do to make it fit, or can we lose it? Or it's thinking on your feet and saying, right, this don't work. Or, I mean, part of the fun was when I first started doing sets. There used to be hired sets, and you come in, and all you get is the set and a picture. There'd be no workings on how to put it together. So you're going, right, okay, let's have a go. How does this go together? And that'd be part of the fun. You'd be scratching your head and going, no, this don't work. And then you get that nowadays you can either you sometimes get someone from the hire company with it and says, right, this goes to there, that goes to there, but sometimes it spoils. I think sometimes it spoils the fun of trying to figure out what to do with it. Yeah. But then also it's no, just people.
Yeah.
Inanimate objects are all right. But it's fun. I just enjoy it. Yeah. Some people don't like being backstage, or they don't like the cast. But you're part. When I'm doing it, I'm part of the production. So it's, for me, even if I'm not on stage, I'm having a good time. Especially with me, if I've got a decent crew to work with, and we get on well, we can have a laugh. What's said on the cans stays on the cans.
Yeah. Because that's sort of another funny story I want to bring up. We used to have the candid can competition, didn't we? So rudest comment.
Oh yes.
Rudest comment of the week.
Yes, we have lots of ones of that. Or the most inappropriate comment made over cans at a junior society show.
Yeah, you're still the proud winner of that one, aren't you?
No, I didn't win it. It was Mark Johnson.
Oh, of course.
The best. I got Harry Erlingsworth to explain a certain term to me over the cans and left the mic on, and he hadn't realised, so everyone heard it. So I'm not sure what I can say about one of these podcasts or not.
Yeah, you can say it. I'll edit it out.
All right, okay. Well, I got him to explain to me what, and on purposely left the mic on, and so he's explaining over the cans. We were both doing follow spots for Footloose, that I directed, but we didn't have enough follow spotters, so I went up and did that. And we were talking, and don't know why it came up, and I went, "What's can?" and I just reeled him in and made sure the mic was on. And I think we had a few people that were on cans for that show, and stage right was women. And I can't remember. I think it might have been your mum.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah, I think it was.
I can't remember, but it was a woman on stage right, and she was on cans at the time, and absolutely how. But yes, Mark Johnson. I can't repeat what Mark Johnson said at all, but it's the most inappropriate. It was the most inappropriate comment, and it's never been beaten in 8 years.
Is it 8? It's 9, isn't it?
8, 9 years.
9.
9 years.
9.
9 years. Yeah. But it's good fun. And the sweeties, we like the sweeties.
Oh yeah.
We just haven't had a chance to give us the beginning of the week, not the end of the week.
So, one backstage like team I love was when we did White Christmas, because me and Isaac, your eldest, we were up in the follow spot booth like that, and we got trusted with the big confetti cannons at the end.
Yeah, I was desperate.
Yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, you just pierce it there, twist it, but it just projected us both back when we did the test one. Like, that, and obviously there was fake snow in that show as well.
Yeah, but we only had it on stage. Steve wanted it in the auditorium, and I managed to convince him not to do it in the auditorium because that would have been a right mess. And I definitely having to clean it up every night. But the danger was the stuff we could get, it might have stained the auditorium seating.
Yeah.
So we went for the confetti cannon. But yes, the snowing on stage, the fact that it was snowing inside the barn.
Yeah, and just came down in a massive blob.
Yeah, you open the big doors at the back and you're supposed to see the snow. It's White Christmas, yay! And the fact it was actually snowing in front of the doors on the inside, and that never got old.
It was cleaning up the foam as well that me and Isaac were lucky to not be near, because the crew on stage.
I've just remembered something that happened to me by the stage crew. This was before I started crewing. I'd done Mac and May. I was in Mac and Mabel with the Halifax Amateurs, and that would have been 85, 84, 85. Anyway, in Mac and Mabel, there's a big custard pie fight, and unlike the one we did with the light opera, there was custard pies going everywhere. And there's only one person on stage who doesn't get hit by a pie in the story. But all week, I managed not to get hit by a pie. Not by design. I wasn't trying to avoid it. It just happened. Anyway, the stage crew had clocked it, and on the final night, the final curtain comes down, and stage crew from every direction, and I got pied left, right, centre, above, and everything. And I still remember that. Yeah. You see, stage crew notice these things.
Oh yeah, do not mess with the crew.
And we will take steps to rectify the imbalance of life. There's always yin and yang.
So just going back to the foam in White Christmas, obviously they had to do the big clean-up at the end of the show, and we just put it in buckets and stuff. But it was a tradition every night, one crew member would get like dunked into the foam.
Have you still got the photograph of me?
I do know where that photograph is. I do. Yeah. So that'll be edited in now.
Thank you. It's not bad. I always like shows that have beds in them backstage, because then you can have a lie down on them. It's brilliant. So,
that's what I did in Ghost. When we did Ghost, and I was Rick White's body double
You're
at the
the
end.
great lounge breaker.
Yep.
You brought Nula's stage lounge.
In all fairness, it was going for a while. And when you got me and Francine doing the stunt.
Yeah.
But it's like...
You did it, though.
Yeah. It's like, I could hear the crew just absolutely pissing himself backstage. Because I'd sort of put my arm around when we did the effect, just so blood would keep going and that. But that night we did it, and I was like, why can I feel the stage? Like, why can I actually feel the stage? And I just sort of glanced at it. We're on an angle like that. I just sort of looked over, and I could just hear the crew going, stay still. You what?
Yeah. You know how hard it is to pull a truck off with you half on stage and half on the truck?
Thing is, it was going so well going off, but as soon as it got to the portals, it just flipped over. What?
Were you on the crew for Our House? Or were you back at college?
In our house. I was in our house.
Oh, of course you were.
Yeah.
So was I, but I was also crewing. I had dual membership then.
Yeah.
That was interesting backstage.
Yeah, because I remember
we weren't using call lights. We were using hand signals. Yeah. And one of the people who were doing the hand signals was always about a second delay behind everybody else. So you got the door going. One of the doors would go, and then slightly followed by the next one for the swinging doors.
I remember.
But I've done a few shows. I've done a few shows where I've been on stage and crewed. Beauty and the Beast, I was crewing Act 1, and then I was in the show Act 2.
Monsieur Dark, was it?
Yes, Mr. Dark, yeah. Lunatic Asylum over. Yeah. And then in a few where I've done both, ended up doing both. The last one was Anything Goes, and I appeared very briefly for that at the beginning. And then I nearly always end up when I'm directing having to do something backstage or lighting, or even in it. I've done quite a few shows where I've had to be in it as well. And I always swear blind, I will never be sure and direct.
That's one thing you've told me in the past when you've had to fill in as a character. So you never put your actual name in the program when that happens, do you?
Yeah, I have an alter ego. It happened a few years back when I directed Robin Hood for Clackeaton, and they couldn't get a King Richard, and I'm going, I'm not doing it. Get a King Richard. We'll have to find a King Richard. And it came to the point about saying, what should we do about the programme? And I went, just leave the picture blank and put in Walter Plinge as the actor's name. And they went, all right, okay, yeah, fine, yeah, I can do that. And then I actually caved about 2 weeks before show week and said, right, I'll have to do it. So I was doing King Richard, and they went, right, we need to change the programme. I went, no, leave it as Walter Plinge. And just put my picture on there. And they're going, why? Why Walter Plinge? I said, do you not know about Walter Plinge? And I had to explain about Walter being the alter ego of many an actor who was a member of Equity, going back to the days when you couldn't be in if you were a member of Equity, the Actors Union, you couldn't be in a non-equity show. So actors who wanted to do that would use Walter Plinge or the female equivalent. It's a bit like in America if a director doesn't want his name attached. There's George Shapiro or something. Anyway, that type of thing. So ever since then, I've been Walter Plinge if I've been on stage and doing backstage or directing. So I had a couple of those where Walter's appeared. But the best one was a friend of mine from Huddersfield came to see it, and he's looking through the programme, and he goes to his daughter and says, well, this Walter Plinge looks just like Jed. And she went, it is Jed. Because they used the same picture twice. But it is Jed. And yeah, it's just sort of like stuck.
Yeah. But going back to backstage work, you throughout lockdown have been refurbishing the playhouse a bit. So could you tell us some of the
Trying to
changes?
get,
Yeah, because I've popped up a few times
well,
as well.
at the moment, during the first lockdown, I thought it would be a good idea to strip the stage floor back to the wood, having it's been 20 odd years worth of paint on it, and without doing that, just paint over it. Yeah, it looks good for about 6 months, and then it just all cracks and everything goes away. So I thought it would be a good idea to strip it back and did my research and everything, and says, oh yeah, you won't need to use paint stripper or anything like that. So I hired the floor sander, I hired a floor edger, and started doing it. And I only knew it was working because you could see all the black dust everywhere. Just wasn't touching it. So I ended up getting paint stripper.
Yeah.
Started beginning of end of July. Properly started end of July. Last week I finished stripping the stage and sanding it. It's all sanded and everything. So it just needs preparing for paint. But I thought that was it became known as Jed's Folly.
Yeah.
Because I'd be going up and saying, oh, I'm doing that. The thing was, I could have got someone to help me, but with COVID and everything, and the paint stripper we were using, you'd need specialised masks, and not very many people have them. So it was just easier to do it myself. But then I've also got on the plans, I've got a lot of maintenance work to do. All the flying barrels need re-roping. I've got about either four to five that need replacing. I've got the barrels, they just need to be swapped over. And then we're going to refurbish the control room, get the desks, the lighting desk and the sound desk better angled, or cut a bit out the lighting desk so you can get closer to the window to see what you're doing. Because at the moment you have to stand up like that to see, and the sound desk's too low. So we want to get that sorted, but also create a proper storage area for our quarantine area for our lighting. So it's, rather than it dumped in a corner, we're actually going to put some barrels up and so we can hang them. What else have I got? Refurbish the SM desk.
Oh yeah.
Try and stop becoming the dumping ground that it already is. Yeah, other things are mainly maintenance, but taking the opportunity to get on top of things, because as volunteers, it's trying to find the time to get a stage that's fit for purpose and safe. So using this time to go up and in between going down to Ollie's rooms to help them.
Yeah.
So, but I was about to ask the membership for help with a lot of the light cleaning, all the stage lights, etc. And that I was going to now I've got rid of the sanding out the way. I was going to put out an appeal for people to come down and help, but new lockdowns paid to that. So I'm just going every now and again on my own and plodding along nicely, and then hopefully the lockdown will be lifted in December and we'll get members to come down and help me do everything that needs doing, because there's certain things I can't do on my own. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I think
like
last time
I was there,
yeah, I think last time I was there, we took down all the lights.
Yes.
And I tidied the tech box up, so it's a bit more organised.
Oh yes, never been so clean, and it still is.
Good.
Possibly because no one else has been in it.
No.
You.
But getting those lights down, like from the barrels, they were fine. From the cross arch sides,
yeah,
they were fine. But the actual cross arch,
yeah,
that was terrifying. When you've got
the spot bar.
Yeah, when you've got an open trap That's about what, 30 feet in the air.
Yeah.
You have to like, dropping big funnels, so I'm trying to lower it down whilst also trying not to lower myself down.
Why do you think I sent you up there?
I'm just as scared of heights as you are.
Well, no, yeah, that's the worst thing. Hey, up.
Oh,
Someone's just through the door. What are you doing?
That's with the cat.
Oh, all right, Ethan.
yeah,
We'll get him to say he's stay alone the way back.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the only bit of lighting that I really hate is focusing the spot bar, because you're just leaning over nothing, which is really weird because I'm all right going up a ladder and focusing, but just leaning over nothing. And
worst one was Lawrence Batley when I lit the show there. That was terrible because they've got that walkway above the auditorium.
oh right, yeah.
And all you've got is like you've got a single bar. And you have to get a light focus and to be like that, legs dangling over. But at LBT, they can raise or lower the floor. And they chose that time, which is already pretty high. They chose that moment while I was focusing to lower the auditorium into the basement. So I just went, that's terrifying.
Yes.
So I'm all right with the Playhouse after the LBT.
I'm not. I'm actually, when it's like the Playhouse, I won't go up stage right ladder to the flying gallery.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, stage. Yeah, because it's straight up.
Yeah.
There's no break, whereas stage left is a break.
Plus, people keep putting stuff in the way of that ladder, so you can't really get up and down it.
Well, yeah, that's part of the thing is I'm going to take the opportunity to clear the whole of the wings of anything that shouldn't be there, or right, let's just store it there for the convenience sake, and it's not going to be there anymore.
Good.
Rule 1 will be enforced. If you use it, put it back in its home.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it keeps me busy and out of trouble.
Yeah. So has there been any plans with the Playhouse for reopening safely? Has there been any discussions of how it works?
We are talking about it. The problem we've got is because the layout of the Playhouse, it doesn't lend itself really. Because even if you could follow the recommendations that the government's put into place, you can't do it within the dressing rooms because they're long and thin and next to each other. But we're hoping, I think the earliest we're looking at of actually opening properly is in March next year, fingers crossed. And it's just getting everything into place. The problem also is you need more bodies to work it. It's rather than having one person from a Playhouse point of view doing front of house and someone doing suites, you'll need stewards to make sure people are keeping the 1 metre distance or whatever. We have thought of ways of opening the bar and during the performance, etc. But one of the problems we've got is getting volunteers to do stuff. So we've done an online thing recently. Went on War of the Worlds adaptation of Orson Welles' radio play.
Yeah.
Two of the members have put a lot of work into it, and they've put in like little videos and photos over the cast doing the script, the radio plays, as it were. I think we raised somewhere in the region about 800 quid. And unfortunately, because of the rights we had, we could only show it once online. But so no, we did it, and I think we're talking about doing a virtual panto.
Oh yeah.
Or like an hour version.
Yeah.
So I think that's in process of being done. So we are doing things.
I've got plenty of panto scripts. Give us a job.
Yeah. Yeah, right an hour. To put you in touch, it's Sharon Bulldog. Put you in touch with her.
Yeah.
But I think reopening, we're looking March at the earliest, but that's dependent on, because a lot of the rules for theatres opening are being allowed to open. It only applies to professionals. It doesn't apply to community theatre and dram. So, but then the Playhouse is in. We own our own theatre. The Halifax Thespians owns its own theatre. So, yes, we get people in, but we're sort of like a hybrid, if you want. But it's run by volunteers, so classed as a professional theatre. So therefore, we can't open. Or there's some. I think it got cleared up by the Little Theatre Guild. They were pushing the culture secretary to make it more formal. And the last thing, yes, you could do it. We were covered by the outside performance, and then up to tier 3, tier 2. We could open if we could open COVID secure, but we weren't in a. Part of the thing is we're not ready, but we had a problem with the roof we needed to sort out. So even if we wanted to open, we couldn't do because it wasn't necessarily safe. We didn't know. We've sorted it now. Yeah. But I'm in the process. I'd started stripping the stage floor. So a lot of things because of COVID, I'd sort of like plodding along nicely with it. Yeah. So it's just a matter of seeing where we are in March and trying to prepare going forward. I mean, we've got the potential lets, and then it's our own productions we need to get.
I know I'm supposed to be doing panto in January at Playhouse.
That will happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, unless we get ourselves organised a lot quickly. Stage-wise, I should be organised to be able to accept productions on stage. It's just having the rest of the bar opening and the front of the house, etc. And formalising all the risk assessments and making sure we can do what we need to do. The trouble is having a one-way system down to the toilets. Coming back up, you're gonna you either have to go outside coming down, or going back up. And middle of winter, it's not much fun, is it?
No.
So, at the moment, we're surviving, but we've just got to get people on board within the society to help us get back on our feet and get open again. And we sorted out the front lights again. We are now lit red. Thank you to you as well. Yeah. You did that for us.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll put the photo in now. There it is. That privilege of lighting the Playhouse in red.
Yes.
I went past it the other day. Because the way I did it, I couldn't be bothered opening the cages on the flood.
Yeah.
So I just taped the gel on. A few months later, it's still there. It's still there.
Well, you use a roll of gas tape on each line.
Just a strip on each side. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's still there.
Excellent. Yeah, occasionally they don't light up at night, but that's if we've had a power cut.
Yeah.
And the timer is wrong when it comes back on. So we don't always know that there's been a power cut. You know, it's like they're not on. Yeah, someone's been looking with the timer, or we've had a power cut and the timer's not synced in. So, all right.
Yeah, I just have one last question for you, and you've sort of covered some of them already. What advice do you have for future techies?
Get involved with societies. Either like Halifax Playhouse, Thespians, local community theatres, Halifax Amateurs, Halifax Light Opera, anywhere that puts on shows, because they're always looking for enthusiastic volunteers, and by doing, you learn a lot of basic stuff, even just how to handle scenery safely and move it on and off stage. And then working backstage, like with the Halifax Playhouse, if you want to do work backstage, yes, we're not the same as professional, but it's a good starting point. I say a young lady who I've known since she was knee high to a grasshopper is a professional stage manager, Francesca Finney.
Yeah.
She's all over the place, but she started doing a backstage work at the Playhouse, and that's where she got a love for it. But it's a good starting point if that's something you're interested in doing and getting involved in. There's a young lady who's just gone down to Guildhall this last year.
Oh, Jess. Yeah.
Jess. She's doing stage management course down there and absolutely loving it. But she started with Hatter, helping out and with the main societies, and just learning different aspects of what to do and getting involved. If you want to take it seriously and do it as a career, there's always theatres like the Vic. They accept people like on a job experience type thing, or just go volunteer, or try and get a casual job. You're then working in a professional theatre and seeing what they do, and that just gives you more experience to see what's available. Whereas somewhere like the Halifax Playhouse, you're only going to get used when there's a production on, and like an amateur society, you might only get used once a year if they only do one show a year, or two if they do it like the Halifax Amateurs usually do two. But sometimes if they're second ones at the rehearsal rooms, you're not going to be used a lot. Yeah. Whereas a theatre, they've got lots of, like a professional theatre like the Vic, they've got lots of lets coming in, and you see different types of show rather than just a musical or just a play. And it gives you a nice window into what your life will be like working backstage professionally. And and as I stress, it's just a window in, because as amateurs or non-professionals, we don't cut corners, but what a stage manager does for community theatre is nowhere near what a professional stage manager has to do, or a duty manager, a deputy stage manager. Like if we're doing our shows, we will only call the flies and the stage crew. The lighting guy does his own calls, the sound guy does his own calls. In a professional theatre, you're doing everything. You've got to keep your eyes on everything that's going on, and you're calling the deputy stage manager or whoever is it who's on the book, calls everything. And it's not as easy as it sounds, because you're following a certain thing. But it's hard enough just calling stage crew and flies to get them right, but put two further sound effects, sound and lighting into the mix. It's that, but there's all sorts of things we don't necessarily do a show report. Professionals have to do a show report. What went wrong? What went right? Is there any notes for? Should the cast be told off for doing something they shouldn't be done? It's that type of thing, but it's a good way to start. And the more you do, the more experience you do, the more you're going to enjoy it. And don't be afraid. that's how I learned. I don't know how to do this. Sure, can someone show me? Yeah, fine. Everyone's willing. We always need a good stage manager. Always need a good stage crew. And if you're interested in theatre, but you don't want to be on stage, it's a good way to be involved and be a major part of a production, because the people on stage couldn't do what they do without the stage crew, without the tech staff. And so, yeah, if that's something you want to do, volunteer for your local group and learn. It gives you an experience. And like I say, it's highly, a lot of professional stage crew are highly trained theatre people. Quite a few of them have been trained on stage. They actually went, Jeff Beck, did he actually do technical theatre, or did he do a musical theatre course? I can't remember, but quite a few of them have actually started doing a course at university or a vocational course and actually transferred to do backstage. And it's just as technically difficult as any other job. And it's doing things safely but enjoyably. And you enjoy it. I do, anyway.
Well,
like I said, best time of my work, best time of show week is the tech, is the build. Love that.
For the bacon butties, isn't it?
Yeah, bacon butties, and then office afterwards.
Oh yes.
For the dissection, what still needs doing with a few pints. I remember when I first started doing backstage, it wasn't unheard of for in between. You know, as I was saying, stage crew is 40 minutes of boredom followed by 10 minutes of headless chicken running around like. We used to go down to the bar in between scene changes and have a pint, and then back up for the next one. Obviously, you can't do that now, health and safety and everything, but it wasn't unheard of for the crew to go through various pints during the night.
Been working with the wrong crews.
I don't condone. Well, no, it changed by the time you started doing it. Even shows like opera used to have a barrel in the shower at the back with a chalkboard. And you settle up at the end of the week. Now it's just pies at the interval.
Yeah. Oh, is it the Friday they do pies? I can't remember.
Oh no,
every night. Oh, of course.
Backstage.
Yeah. Roy Greenwood going round.
Yes.
You having a pie? You having a pie? Yeah, I've got pies.
But no, that being silliness aside, I mean, it was never taken to extremes or anything. But to be honest, it's better now, because it's like drinking and driving. If you've been drinking and you're on backstage, there's too much that can go wrong. Then at best you'll end up ruining the show, but at worst you end up hurting somebody, either yourself or somebody else. So have your drink in the bar afterwards with the rest of them.
Yeah,
that's the best one. But as I say, get involved, volunteer. There's always somebody. I don't know of any society that would turn away a prospective member of stage crew, because they're needed.
Yeah. Right, Jed, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and reminiscing.
Little as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the whole podcast thing now. There has to be at least one Marescaux per season.
Yes. Well, yeah, it might be Noah next year.
Yeah.
Next season. Got Ethan. Well, they've all Isaac used to be involved as well. He's done shows as well as doing fellow spots.
Yeah. It'll be season 4.
Yeah.
Season 5.
You can have all 4 of them.
Sure. Season 5 will be Jane.
Isaac could be Life After Amdram.
Yeah, Life After Amdram.
So, yeah.
He's doing a proper degree now, isn't there?
Yes. Politics and economics. I did say that I would disown him if he became an MP, but with what they're getting paid, I wouldn't blame him. Well, I've said to all my sons, I don't care what they do, as long as they are successful at it, because me and their mother would like to be looked after in the lifestyle we would like to become accustomed to.
Jed, thank you for joining.
Happen, so.
Thank you, Jed, for joining me today.